whole life.
We made it good.
You can't be lazy to your whole life. Yes, man. Have you ever thought, man, I've come up with something great? I'm the first one to come up with this thing.
Yeah.
And you look 2 seconds on YouTube.
Huh?
And it's great. 2 seconds on Google and you're like, wow, someone wrote this thing.
Right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is? It is the Advent Pod SA. It's a timely voice indeed that I'm here. Kahana Supani, your host, Cafe by Nature _international. And of course, we are shooting a gents cave today. And the gent I have in my cave is none other than Themba, bro. Tell the people who you are.
Thank you so much, man. Hi everyone, the name is Themba. I am a final year student of psychology, studying at the South African College of Applied Psychology, and big fan of production, big fan of creativity, finding my place in the world as far as business is concerned, as far as career is concerned. Always happy to have chats with my brother, and you and I come from way back. So this is like this is nice, man. Being able to grow and now be in spaces like this where we can have these kinds of conversations.
For sure. And Themba, so our conversation today is just gonna be around the hustle culture. We are both hustlers,
Right.
in the very practical sense of the word. As much as we are trying to boost our academics, and you're still studying, you still have this desire to create something,
Of course.
and I think that desire is God built, it's God breathed, and what we sometimes see is that we don't talk much about what actually goes on in the hustle culture, kind of into the headspace of where you find yourself, the idea phases, the what if I get rejected phases,
Right.
all those types of chats.
Right.
So I want you to take us along in your experience of what you've hustled and some of the things that you've learned through those hustling, so that our young gents here and maybe gents who are older can appreciate that, look, we're being vulnerable and open about these things, because usually they say men don't talk. It's not
Look, evidence.
what took you. Thank you very much.
Right.
Yeah, so tell us, when did you start hustling? I know you do music, a lot of things.
Right.
Talk to us.
Okay. I think the first hustle, if I can say that, that I remember being a part of at least, was in high school.
Okay.
So I'm in high school, I'm in boarding, and there's an issue. I won't disclose the high school, but there was an issue of Wi-Fi. Right? Wi-Fi was not readily available in the dormitories, and so I had been blessed with a router with rain. And at the time, rain was just coming up, and it was infinite data. I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. So I thought, no man, I have Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
The gents need Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Let's do something, man. Let's do something, So that was, I would say, like the first business-ish venture I would say I got into.
Yeah.
I noticed there was a need. I had something that the gents needed. So literally we decided on a price, and every month
Was coming in,
and they had access to the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the first time that I got exposed to business, this idea of I have something that someone else wants.
Yeah.
And if you're happy to exchange money for what I have, then let's do it.
Sure.
So I would say like that was like the first sort of my introduction to a hustle of some sort.
Sure.
The next one that I would say comes to mind, it started off with, and it continues even to today, video editing. That's so that hence I said earlier that I'm in the creative space. This is something I enjoy, man. I enjoy the idea of creating content, producing it. So around, I would say 2018, 19, somewhere there. There was a period where I was at home for a while, and I got fascinated by these superhero series. Right? So things like The Flash, things like Superman, whatever, but not just by the storyline, here we are seeing people fly, and it's convincing.
Yeah.
You know, it's convincing, and you're like, wow, like how do they do that? You know, how do they do that in terms of the animation, in terms of the VFX, and it looks so convincing. And I was like, no man, I need to look into this thing. So I started learning about things like green screening and how people shoot on a green screen, and then in editing they remove the green screen and add the backgrounds and whatever. And that to me was just interesting. I didn't think that this would become something that would actually bring me money in the future. It was just like, man, this is something I'm interested in. Let me try and understand it. And so that then developed into understanding the green screening, but then understanding just video editing, putting things together, and then also went further into script writing, content producing, things like that. So I would say all of the things as far as hustle is concerned were born out of some sort of an interest or some curiosity about something. And there's many others, but those are the ones.
Tell me about the pain of having an idea, burning idea that you want to execute, right? And you find yourself in a space where you really, really want to execute this idea. It's burning your mind every single day.
Right.
Tell us what happens during those phases, because I don't think we talk much about how heavy an idea can be on your mental state of mind, on your physical health sometimes. You know, you have an idea that's chowing you even to a point where you can't eat.
Hey,
you know what I mean? I don't know if I'm the only one who experiences.
No, I hear you, bro.
Talk to me about
the weight of the thing, the weight of an idea. Sure. So for me, it depends on the idea. So not all ideas weigh heavy like that. But there are certain ideas that do weigh heavy, and they usually come after I've seen something, right? So maybe I've watched a movie or watched a documentary or something like that, and something in there, I was like, man, I need to do that, or I need to do my own version of that, you know? And then now it's the question of, okay, they had all this fancy equipment, they've been planning this thing for months. You know, how am I, with the limited equipment I have and the limited resources, how am I going to execute this thing that is on my mind? And for me, it usually starts by breaking down what it is that I actually want to do.
Concept by concept.
And that process for me takes longer than the actual production itself. So understanding what the idea is, what is required, and how, with my limited space and limited resources, how I'm going to attempt this thing. That takes some time. And the biggest issue, and I don't know if you can relate, but the biggest thing is getting started, bro. That, bro, like, you can have such amazing ideas, and getting started is a thing. And this is a heavy topic for me now, because it's something I've been wanting to do, right? There's an idea currently that is sitting here, it's on my neck, and I've come to realize that my issue is just that, like, I'm overthinking this thing. So obviously you want it to be perfect, man. Like, as someone who produces content, I'm sure you can relate. You don't want to put out bad content. You don't want to put out in business. You don't want to put out a bad product. And so getting started on that, I want to produce this thing, and it needs to be perfect. It needs to be what is there in my mind, and it needs to be packaged in a certain way. So like when I put it out, man, it's perfect. You know? And the sad part is, or the learning curve comes with knowing that, look, you're not always going to put out
the greatest.
Exactly. You're not always going to put out the kind of thing that is sitting in your mind. Your first sale, your first product, your first production, it's not going to be what you think it'll be in your head. And that, I think, is where I get stuck. Because it's like, man, if it's not going to come out perfect,
then why am I doing it?
then why, you know? But just sort of getting over that block, if I can say, in my mind, that look, this thing, I'm going to give it my best for starters, right? I commit to giving it my best, and even if it doesn't doesn't come out the way it was in my mind, I'm going to give it my best and I'm going to put it out
and try it.
Yeah. And just yesterday, you and I were listening to a sermon that was encouraging us just to try, right? You know, the story of Peter and the walking on the water. It's like, get out there, man.
Sure.
Get out there and do it. And I think that's the like one of the biggest things I would say to someone who has an idea, someone who has this thing that they want to put out there, whether it's in the lines of content, whether it's about the business lines, like put it out there, man. Give it your best. Use the resources that you have and put it there. And as you put it there, it's literally a thing of like training. The more you do something, the better you become at it.
Perfect itself.
You know what I mean? So as far as not eating and everything, it's just when you have not started and the idea is just there and you need to put it out. You know you need to put it out, and you're just getting started. And that's the biggest hurdle, I would say, in my experience. It's just the getting started.
Yeah, man. I think you're looking at someone who's been sitting on a certain idea for a year.
Okay.
Max. Okay. So what I do is I'll start to go heavy on building all the background stuff. Okay.
Tell us about the background stuff.
The background stuff is like the documentation that we should go into, like the model that you're thinking of doing.
Right.
So actually, you haven't sent it to the public, but
not yet.
Done the model.
Right.
And you say, okay, the model works to a certain degree. You've done some research on it, business research to get on there. And then when I realize that, okay, I can't start this now, what I do is I say, compartmentalize, lock away.
Right.
For now.
Right.
Keep it as perfect as it was when I was preparing
as a concept.
Then when I see that now I'm in a position where my networks, my space, my area allows me to bring it back.
Right.
I bring it back.
Okay.
Because I think you realize that some things, yes, you can start them prematurely, but they won't mature well because you know the environment was not right for allowing for it.
Sure.
So now I see that okay, there's an idea that even to this day, in my mind, hasn't been executed the way I've thought about it. Sure. Yes, of course, I'm not saying I've come up with a novel idea. It's obviously in a space of
can I just jump on there? This thing of novel ideas, have you ever thought, man, I've come up with something great?
I'm the only one.
I'm the first one to come up with this thing. And you look 2 seconds on YouTube, and it's there. 2 seconds on Google, and you're like, wow, someone thought of this thing. Bro, that thing is so frustrating, man. And obviously, people won't execute it the way you will. Right? So in that sense, it's yours. But it's like, man, it's very hard to come up with a brand new idea.
That's very true.
It's hard, bro. But anyway,
please continue. I think it's very good that we're talking about it in this way.
Right.
And I just want to maybe ask, because I don't know, you must be careful how you answer this.
Okay.
One of the things we've realized is that parts of the hustle culture, especially when you're in those intense moments of building, you can suffer some relationship struggles. Okay. Whether those be with your intimate partner, or with your friends and family, or with your church family. Like you suffer, it's a very isolated journey. Right. So sometimes now you're going into the cave, because that's where you can produce.
In the cave.
Right, in the cave. Right. So how have you handled those situations where people have said, hey Chief, you're unavailable, what's happening? You know, you're hustling too much, we don't see you, you're not sleeping, you know, you're always outside the house, you're coming back at 12 midnight, busy hustling.
Or if you're in here, we don't see you.
You're
locked away somewhere. Right.
So how do you manage the boundaries there with the people that you either live with or the people that you communicate with on a regular in that regard?
Sure. It's a tricky one, and it's not a one size fits all. Right. So I've been blessed to also be surrounded by friends that are in the hustle culture. I would say that friends who are also producing, friends who are in the business space. So there's this sort of understanding that even when I don't respond to you immediately, like it doesn't mean that I don't care or that I'm not interested in getting back to you. Like there's this understanding that okay, you're busy.
Yeah.
I'm busy. You're busy. As far as other relationships outside of the friends that are also in the space, it's kind of hard because you want to commit and give the best of yourself to this thing that you're building, right? But also you don't live life alone, you know. And I've been blessed, if I can say, to have family, to have relationships where people come and they pull you out of that space. Like, yeah, Chief, you've been in here for too long. No, man, we haven't seen you. Come this side. You know, and when they do that, it's like, yo, you don't even realize how long you've been working on something or how much time you spent in the cave. So I think I've been really blessed in the sense that I've had relationships where people firstly understand that we're pushing. You know? And also they're able to pull you out of that space to say, no man, come and spend time here, you know, come and relax, come and unwind, do something else, you know, before you get back to that. So that's been a blessing on my part, and I know others may not have had the same experience, you know, where it's like there's just so many demanding relationships and people maybe not understanding what we're doing.
And also you not taking the time to explain what you're doing. You feel like you're wasting time. Because explaining,
I could have been working on this. Right.
Just doing the actions and you also don't have the vocabulary to explain most of the things you're working on. Because they're all here.
Right.
And I think it becomes difficult for some James to navigate that.
And as far as intimate partners would go, I've also been blessed in the sense that I could share the stuff that I'm doing with my partner. Right? So I could bring them into this way. Maybe not explain everything from A to Z, but there's this sort of understanding. Like this is what I'm working on, this is what I'd like to work towards. And so that it's not a thing of I don't know what you're doing as my partner. You're there in your room. I don't know. You know, you're unavailable. I don't know what you're doing. So I'm guilty of not always communicating. You know, not always sharing.
This one.
I've been kind of guilty of that one, because sometimes you get so locked into the thing, so sucked into it that you forget that you're not alone. You're not alone. And you need to share, you know, and that's an important part of building the relationship. And as much as whatever you're building is towards a future, you know, perhaps a shared future, this process now also keep me in the loop, you know. And I've been guilty of not doing that, and that's it's a hard one.
I think we've all been guilty. As James in the cave, all of you. I think you know.
Tell the truth.
You know how difficult. If you master communication now, good for you. Good for you, and we hope we keep it that way. But we've all struggled in the beginning to effectively communicate our time allocations, what we're allocating to what things at which times, and where we are, why we want to be there, those types of chats. I think, guys, especially when you have the burden of executing something, that of all the space, all your mental space, you don't even have words anymore. Suddenly you were talking, you were the narrative guy, now you don't have words. But tell us before you go there, what do you think? Do you communicate well?
I think the biggest problem that I've had, no one's told me that, you know what, you're good at everything. But you don't talk. Like you're good, you do all the good things. But you don't talk.
You take them out on dates.
You take them out on dates. You listen to them. You buy them things that they want, that they tell you, like just like you pay attention to all those things.
You're present.
But you don't talk. We want you to talk. I want you to also talk. You to also be vulnerable. But I mean, it's difficult for a guy, right? Because you get to ask the question. I think when I talk, right, my expectation is, what's the solution?
Yes.
You see, you see
problems.
And man, I've been told, Chief, sometimes when I'm telling you a problem,
I don't
want you to listen.
I don't care.
And I'm like, I'm sorry.
I don't want to hear.
Don't come with the solution.
Just listen to me.
That's all.
Right.
That's all.
Man, like when I hear I want to solve it.
And it's natural, bro. It's natural to hear something you want to fix.
For sure. The pastor has joined us. The pastor must come into the cave, but you can sit there with Kano.
Welcome, Pastor. Welcome.
young men that are doing this. Yeah, you're in the ghosts. you're a ghost presenter today. Right. Yeah, because this is the cave. So it's only gents in the room, by the way, if any of you are wondering. Yeah. It's myself, it's Themba, it's Kano with the technical direction there, and the pastor. Say hi to the people for this from there.
Hello. Thank you so much, and I see that you guys are having fun here. It's good to be here with you.
Welcome to the cave, Pastor.
Yes. So I think as we continue man, the conversation, do you celebrate your small wins? And how? Again, we are asking.
Right.
You see, today we just got new equipment.
New equipment, yeah, this is a win.
I don't know if we're going to celebrate. Maybe he'll tell me, but I don't know. Maybe it's just those packets of chips that we're going to eat
And that's it.
So you celebrate your small wins, man.
Man, I've struggled with that. I've struggled with that. And I think generally it's because I find it easier to celebrate other people and other people's wins than my own. So I think it's a me issue, you see.
Yeah.
I found it easier to, when someone else has done something, whether it's big or small, like I find it so much easier to say, hey, well done. Let's celebrate this thing. You've come from wherever, and you're here now. I struggle to do that for myself.
Sure.
So celebrating the small wins, not all the time, man. Not all the time. I think it's easier to celebrate the big win when you finally gotten the thing done.
Yeah.
When you finally put it out and it's like, wow, it's out there. You know, I've worked through this, and you can also track your own progress.
Yeah.
So the small wins, I won't lie, bro. 9 times out of 10, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
You know what's frustrating with me? People usually tell me and Peter, oh, you guys are doing great. You see, no bank account. Oh, right. Yeah, you guys have, the subscribers are growing, like,
Subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Thank you.
I think about 50% of you guys who watch the channel don't subscribe. So
That's an issue. That's a problem.
Why you're not subscribing? Because you see now.
One click.
Just one click.
Thank you.
Please down below. Thank you so much. So I think those things, man, they kind of also stagnate your movement if you don't celebrate the wins. Because what I've realized is, if you do take time to celebrate the wins, you give yourself more reason to come back to that excitement. So you're creating a feedback loop of saying,
Right.
oh, your brain knows now. Whenever you achieve something, there's a
Right.
So you're always thinking, maybe for you, you're celebrating of the small win is ice cream. It's fine. So you say, when I've shot 2 episodes successfully today, ice cream.
Ice cream.
But I'm vegan, I do vegan ice cream. Thank you very much.
Hallelujah.
So the idea is,
Right.
at some point, like, you can't just be going through
And just pushing
in yourself, and then you won't take a moment. But also in your thanks of yourself, you can now splurge and go to signature restaurant.
Help us.
And put on a 12 people table there, like you're Jesus with the disciples. And you say, all my friends come. It's just a random Wednesday we're celebrating what? No, I just bought a camera for the podcast.
And some light.
A 12-member
Full thing. 7 colors or several colors. We don't know.
So
Giving yourself those, and I think that's something that we need to learn and also encourage in each other. And I don't know, man. I don't know if you think that there's a standard or something that we can say, look, when you've done this, at least do this for yourself, or something. Or is it a thing where it varies from person to person, depending on what you are pushing, whether it's in the content space, whether it's in the business, entrepreneurship space. When you've gotten to a certain milestone, give yourself something, do something for yourself. But I think maybe we need to have conversations around those, because for me, it's like, what do I even do? Like, okay, maybe I shoot whatever, maybe I write XYZ amount of scripts. Now what? Is the treat that I take a day off? Is the treat that I go out with friends? Like what? So it's kind of hard to say what is an appropriate checkpoint or an appropriate celebration in relation to the work that I've done.
See, the problem is, we never make it.
And we must learn to enjoy the process.
Right.
Right.
And we often forget that we will never make it. Right? Because there's always so I think our buying cameras, right, was a milestone that we we need to buy cameras.
Yeah.
Right? At the time we get there, we're like, no, but we need that.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
was
The lens now.
which was not in the view
Right.
when we
At
went
that time.
at the
Sure,
time.
sure.
Right? That means when you get to point A, you see point B.
Right.
Right? You get to point B, there's point C.
Yes.
But now you can't celebrate. If you don't celebrate point A, you'll never celebrate because after point C,
Yeah.
there's point D.
Point D now. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you need to get, I made it to point A. It's worth celebrating,
Yes.
but it's not the end, it's still point B. Right? But at least let's celebrate point
Sweet.
A when we've made it.
When we're here,
Okay,
yeah,
this
yeah.
was a dream a year ago.
Yeah.
Now we're here.
We're here now.
Right?
Sure.
Let's celebrate it.
And I think to add to that, the celebration aspect I think also comes with sharing your vision, you know. Because if you're just working by yourself, right, it's just you in the cave, right? No one knows what you're doing, it's just you and your mind and your ideas, right? When you get to that checkpoint, it almost feels like it's almost like it's not worth celebrating. Like, oh, I've gotten here and it's great, right? But now let's move on to the next thing. But when you have someone, when you have people that are able to say, man, you've come from there. We remember when you were telling us about this dream, you know, we were sitting outside and we didn't have this, we didn't have this, we didn't have this. Now look at you, you know. Having people that can appreciate the journey that you've taken. I think that also encourages you to celebrate it, and they also help you to celebrate it and to continue pushing. So having that circle of people that you can actually share your vision with and share enough of that vision where they understand that when I made it to this point, this is actually a win. Yeah.
Yeah, that's lovely. I think what we sometimes miss as people, you know, hustling and doing our thing, is that we sometimes don't tell people how much it costs.
Right.
I think we've glamorized to a certain degree parts of the hustle culture, and we know very well that parts of it are not healthy.
No, sir.
So we need to be honest with ourselves and say that, hey, yes, at some point, you know, this thing is nice, it energizes you, you're doing it because you're passionate about it, but there are parts of it that can leave you drained, toxic sometimes, towards maybe people who are of the view that, look, don't you want to take a break and then come back and come back to it? No, it's my idea, I'm going to do it.
I need to
see now.
Right.
So what are some of the parts that maybe have put you in an awkward space where now you've let go, now you're not taking care of yourself as properly as you should because you're not showing up for yourself, you're showing up for the hustle more than you're showing up for yourself.
Right.
Take us through those experiences and how do you then show up for yourself?
Okay. It's a heavy one. And the first thing that comes to mind for me when I'm locked in, food.
No go in.
I don't see food. Like I can and I'm hungry. It's not like the hunger is not there. I'm hungry, but like in my head I can always justify delaying this meal so that I finish what I'm doing.
Sure.
Right. So that's the one thing for me that and it's like I think the easiest thing for me is just to eat food.
Do away with food.
Right? And focus on what's at hand. So the one is the food, and obviously that affects you because now you don't have the nutrients you need, your brain is not functioning at the best. But in your mind it's like, no man, it's fine. I'm here, I can push it, you know. So that's the one thing I would say, the food aspect. The other thing is sleep.
That's a big one. We are so
And this one is since high school, bro, my sleep schedule, man, has not been healthy. Right? And because in that time, obviously you're studying for your prelims, your finals, your June exams. So you do your all-nighters and then maybe 1 or 2 hours in the morning and then boom, you're actually rectified my sleep schedule since then. So now, when it comes to now with the hustling and with the, you know, the pushing your idea, it's easy for me now to sacrifice sleep because I'm so used to it. It's like, I'll sleep later, you know, I'm busy with this thing, and I don't feel tired. That's the other thing. It's not like I'm working and I'm drowsy. Like I'm awake, man. I'm awake. Maybe I'm not functioning at my best, but I'm awake and I'm present. So food, sleep, those are the things that easily go out the window. And those are like the basics of functioning well.
And usually what causes these things is that you are acting as a lot of different parts of a team in yourself. Because you're trying to build an organization, but you've not yet gotten the people to execute some of the other tasks for you and with you with the same alignment, with the same vision. And now you also don't have the resources and you don't have the resources
to bring other people
on board.
So now you're playing CEO, you're playing manager, you're playing person on the ground, you're playing like you're saying accountant, all of the things.
I think that's what then causes you to burn the midnight oil a lot.
Correct.
But when you've, I think, gotten to a place where you want to turn the hustle into we call it a real business.
Sure.
And real business is still a hustle, but it's a hustle where you are on the vision setting, strategy setting side of it. You are not necessarily at the ground execution level. The groundwork you still know intelligently, which helps you to direct its, you know, it's
so now you're moving to the manager phase now.
And someone told me that the skills that you develop in starting maybe a startup, a side hustle, or whatever the case might be, are not the same skills that you need to maintain it. So the skill set that you think just grind, just push, that's not the same skill that keeps the business going. Because now, when it's sustainability time, I'm a sustainability guy, by the way.
Oh yes.
When it's sustainability time,
tell us.
It now becomes a thing of, okay, I need to be strategic about who I call to do what for me and when. Then it becomes a matter of you're just acting on a, I don't want to mention this name, but a certain president's level. Strategy. You don't touch anything, but here you're switched on. You know that when you talk to this person, the outcomes of you just talking to one person ripple effects in terms of your business growth. You see, so you operate now at a level where you're having growth conversations and you're having growth strategy discussions.
100%.
So it's not the same skill set. Now you're not burning any oil. Now you need to sleep more. So that when you wake up
for that conversation.
Sure. When you're busy here. By the time you wake up, you go to a meeting with someone serious. You're tired. You don't want anything.
Can you just repeat that point? I missed it.
You see.
I see. And that's such a good point, because I think one of the hardest things is moving from I'm the worker, the hustle, right? To I actually want this thing to be a business. I want this thing to flourish, and I can't do it by myself. So now I need to move into, as you're saying, the strategy, the manager space now. And I think that's where a lot of people either stay being the person on the ground, or they now make the transition. And I think that's the hardest thing, because we don't talk about the moving from I'm the person that does the thing to I'm now the person that is driving this thing. You know? And when we make that move, it's now a whole, like, it's different skills now that are coming into play. Now it's your soft skills. Can you manage people? Can you talk to people? Are you able to translate the vision that's in your mind to someone who can help you move it forward? You know, are you able to find the people and have conversations in such a way that someone can see this vision and think, you know what, I actually want to help you push this thing. I have XYZ amount of skills, I have XYZ resources that can help you push that. But not just someone else pushing your idea, but they also find value in what you're doing, right? You're not just asking for a favor. They're able to buy into the thing because they also see value in whatever it is that you're pushing. And like you say, that's a whole different ballgame, man.
and the challenging part in the beginning of going into that phase, right, is that you own most of the processes, how things should be done, kind of thing.
Sure.
But in order for it to grow beyond this, you kind of have to liberate the people that you bring to the space to be able to execute the brilliant ideas on their own. You kind of have to let
You
go.
have to let go.
It's
Let
the
it go.
craziest thing.
Right.
And
Let it go.
I mean, it goes to a book I'm reading, No Rules Rules, by CEO of Netflix. It's the most bizarre concept, but it actually works.
Okay.
When you hold on to, no, I must be the one signing powers. Y'all can't go into contracting because
It must come through me.
It must come through me. At some level, that makes sense.
Yeah.
If your people haven't bought into the vision and you're not yet sure of where they stand with the
Or if
vision.
people are in the training period where you're still getting them to the level where they can execute things on their own and you can trust them to produce high quality stuff.
Man, by the time you know that these guys can fly on their own, and whatever ideas they bring to the table are going to be crisp, just let them do it.
Sure.
And some of the things that they do might be opposed to your initial ideas. That you
But it's
might-
still a good idea.
It's still a good idea. It comes from you, but it's still a good idea.
It's still a-
Let's do it. Let's do it. And I think most people are in that phase of they don't want to let go now because they're like, it's mine.
Yeah, it's my baby, I need to grow it. If I can ask you, where are you in any one of your different ventures?
Yeah.
Are you still at on the ground, sort of, I'm doing the work, or are you at the side where it's now like, okay, let's find people, let's build a team that will push this thing? If you don't mind me asking.
Sure, no problem. I think it has gotten to a team level, especially here in the podcast. And it took a while for it to get here.
Sure.
But a lot of the stuff that we now come I was pre-production, production, post-production, everything.
Oh, the whole process.
Everything.
Right.
But I needed to do that to know what it takes at an intimate level. To know what it feels like to deal with sound.
Yeah.
You know, to know what it feels like to deal with storage. You know, I don't want someone who's not me to learn that for the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
Or now they're asking you and you have no clue. About this
how
thing.
to assist them.
Right.
So now at least I have the technical aspect of the enterprise right? I have the other side right. In my other hustles that I haven't lifted off the ground yet, it's still just me. There's another hustle that's me everything. But it's still just me because I haven't found the right team yet. So I'm now in the process of vetting, can I bring this person on board? To what extent? Those types of things. So I'm having those conversations now. Just kind of selling the ideas lightly to say, can you come on board? Maybe, yes, no. But right now on this one, things are fine. Anyone who wants to assist us, guys, please. If you want to assist us to grow this channel, please come talk to us.
Where do they say? Where do people send their CV?
Please send your CV there down below. Instagram there. Nane will deal with you decisively. You know, I think we're at the space now where we can grow it. The challenge is now I want to ask you about your music ministry.
Okay.
So you know how we have things that are supposed to be there to make money and to maybe be great ideas that somewhere, somehow will sustain our livelihoods.
Sure.
In the ideal world.
And be of service.
Yes, to people, right? Then there's ministry where the church invites you. I know you're part of a very powerful group. Friends of
Shout
mine.
out to Dynamic SA. Please follow us on Instagram and TikTok. You can find us some good music.
Lovely,
Shout out to the
lovely,
team.
lovely. You've got lovely members of your team there as well. And I don't know, you know, the starting point of Dynamic, but I do know that you are an arranger of music as well. And in that you kind of have a leadership role in a sense. You might not be the founder, but you have a leadership role in that sense. So tell us how much of yourself do you pour into that space when you feel like your other hustles are suffering themselves? You know, when you feel like, I'm not making it in life. Now people expect you to show up with a proper arrangement.
Right.
That we're going to sing at the music convention. Take us through that process.
Sure. So for me, right, I'm able, and maybe I should rephrase that. It's a different space for me.
You tap into a different space.
The music space, the arranging space, the being just singing with my team and producing music and coming up with the ideas and all of that. It feels like a different part of me, and I find it rejuvenating. I find it refreshing actually when I tap into the space. It actually allows me to come back to this side and give it more. Because this side is it's very linked to the spiritual aspect.
Right? Feeding the spirit.
100%. So in addition to your reading of the Bible and your prayer, music speaks to me in a very special way, very intimate way, and it revitalizes me.
It doesn't feel like a job, does it?
Yeah, it doesn't. And I find that when I'm giving my best here, right, whether it's just singing or whether it's coming up with an idea, I also find it very, very, very humbling and very encouraging when I have an idea, it's in my head, I've put it down, I've recorded the parts, whatever, I send it to the team, and they're like, man, we like this.
Yes. It's cooking.
That feeling, man, it's like, wow, this, whatever this idea is, and I believe that God is the one that puts the ideas for arrangements, for lyrics. It's not just arrangements, sometimes it's the writing of lyrics, the writing of music, right? And I believe that He's the one that puts the ideas in the mind, and He also gives the power to execute. So when the team is receptive to what it is that I've put forth, and that's been inspired by the Holy Spirit, it feels so refreshing that, as we're executing it, it's like, wow, man, like, I'm being recharged, I'm being recharged in the space. And it goes across not just in the music, but also just in my personal spiritual life. I've noticed that when I'm more locked in with God, right, when I'm doing the daily thing, whether I feel like it or not, I'm doing it and I'm reading. And sometimes it's not reading for finding, like, it's not reading so that you find something. Like, sometimes you're not reading so that you get something from the Bible. You're just reading, right? And when I found that when I do that consistently, I'm reading and I'm praying, I'm talking to God, that the other areas of my life, like, He gives me ideas for the different spaces, whether it's in the production space or whether it's in the music space or whatever. He gives me ideas to execute, or ways that I can execute certain ideas better. And that to me is just like, it just proves that there doesn't have to be a disconnect, right, from my spiritual life and the rest of my life. That for me, the spiritual life is what actually pours into the other things that I'm doing. So when other things in life are not working out, man, this side recharges me, man. I won't lie, it does not feel draining in any way. And I think also I've been blessed to have a team that I get along with really well. And we enjoy making music together and just being in each other's company as well. It's not just the good voices, being able to blend musically together, but actually being able to connect with each other as a team, being able to have our differences together, the friendship, being able to spend time together outside of music. And that recharges me to be able to now go hard at life and the other things that I'm doing.
That's good. I think it's important to have pockets of communities that are not work. Pockets of communities that are not work, and I think you recharge from them. So we're going to do a game.
Okay.
You are going to act like a therapist.
Okay.
Because you told me that you're in your final year.
Right, of the undergrad.
Yeah, I promise I didn't make
So
this
first
up.
grade people, please don't judge me. I'm still learning.
I didn't make this up.
Right.
But I've got a few scenarios. This is not me. This is a scenario.
Sure.
So you will then give them counsel. There's no human beings here, but it's a scenario.
Okay. So I give them counsel or you counsel?
You give the scenario counsel. Not, hey, Chief, it's not me here.
My bad. Okay, the scenario.
Okay, so for each scenario, I'm just gonna read like a 2-sentence story on what this person is going through, and then you tell us what you would counsel them based on, you know,
The knowledge I have.
experience and your knowledge.
Hey, can I please highlight, man? It's undergrad, guys. No, and I'll tell you why I'm highlighting. I'm not just trying to be, you know. There's certain things we've learned up to this point, right? And the field experience that we've had is not at the same level as someone who's doing their postgrad. Right? So there's some things that I may not know, right?
Of course.
And the psychology space is a very delicate space, also. You know. But anyway,
Sure.
disclaimer aside, let's get to
That's
it.
fine. So this is James. Yeah. Sure. Disclaimer, this is James. So it's like my friends are buying cars, so they're coming to you. It's like, hey, sure, Mr. Psychologist, my friends are buying cars.
Right.
They're starting businesses and they're getting married. Me, I'm 27. I'm still at home, and I'm applying for jobs that never respond. That's their story. How do we deal with it?
My friends buying cars, getting married, starting businesses.
I'm 27, meaning I feel like I should have those things
Yes,
also. I
yes.
should be there, but I'm not there, and the jobs are not giving.
Yeah. I think for starters, and it's something that I've had to learn, and I'll give some context. For starters, you can't be late to your own life.
Ooh, let it cook.
You can't be late to your own life, and that's not. Those are not my words. A very wise friend of mine. I don't know if this person will ever see this episode, but a very wise friend of mine shows you can't be late to your own life. And I think in our society, in our culture, it's very, very easy to compare what is happening in other people's lives with what's happening in mine. Also, posting and the social media thing also doesn't help, you know, as far as comparison is concerned. So I think for starters, I would want to encourage this person not to compare. And I think there is a space, and I'm saying this very carefully. There is a space for comparison, right? But it's not to put yourself down, right? Because I think we can take inspiration from what other people are doing and be able to maybe understand their process and how they got to where they are. So comparison as far as looking at what people are doing, I don't think is a problem. But I think it's when you now start to internalize that, and now you start to belittle yourself, or you start to see yourself as less, or to you know, to put yourself down because you feel that you're not at the level of that other person. You don't know what opportunities they have had, or that they have passed on. You know, you don't know what connections they've had, because that's another big thing. You could be by yourself putting in those job applications, and there's no one to put you on. There's no one in the space that you know. You know, maybe you finished the degree, you finished the diploma, and it's just like, man, I don't know anyone in this space, and you're literally trying everything by yourself. And someone else could have had someone that's in the space that says, look, man, there's an opening here. You know, send your CV. In fact, send it to me. I will put it in, whatever. And there's so many different things that come into getting people to where they are that we just don't know. Like we're talking today, there's so many parts of the hustle culture that we don't talk about as a collective. Certain things that we don't have conversations around. So I think my first point would be to encourage this person that it's okay. Don't compare yourself to what others are doing. And I think the other thing, so after the establishing the fact that we can't be late to our own lives, I think mine would be to explore what skills this person has. So, you know, whether it's the qualifications you've had or the interests. You know, sometimes people will go and study for a degree and then get a job doing something that they are just interested in, not that they've qualified for it in the conventional means. So exploring their interests, exploring the spaces they want to get into. And I think maybe also just finding ways to explore other ways to get in, because maybe sending your CV through a job portal, you know, we won't name any, but maybe sending it through, I mean, it can be discouraging. You get there and then you see 5,000 other applications, and you're like,
and then the email comes and says, we regret to inform you that we've moved on.
And as soon as you see me regret, you're like, close email, like I don't need to know what's next, you know. But there may be other ways to get into spaces, and you know, there are even things like changing your CV, you know, the best footing that they can have, you know, as they get into the space. But I think my point of departure would just be the comparison. Yes, people are out there and they're at a certain age and they're doing X, Y, Z, but maybe that's not what you need to be doing right now. You know, there could be an idea that you just need the resources for that needs your attention. Maybe you're not in a space to get married right now. It's a nice thing, it's a beautiful thing, it's a God-sanctioned thing, but maybe it's not a space you need to be in at this point in time. So the comparison thing, I think, would be my point of departure, and then looking now into how can we now help you in terms of getting into the space. You know, maybe there may be connections that I may have, but that someone else may have that we can tap into. So yeah,
you're doing very well. You're doing very well. Proper stuff. So I'm gonna give you the phone for you to find any one of these scenarios. Okay. And you can read it out. Even the background team can answer. Okay. So check whatever you need to check there. Okay. Any one of these. Yeah. Find one that interests you, and then you can do this and that. But they must answer. You can even ask me. Okay. If I need to advise people. Okay. But me, guys. Okay. I like this one, and it's linked to what we just spoke about now. So the title is Next Steps. So the quote is, I want to start something, but I don't know what. I want to build something for myself, but I'm stuck. So much advice, but no clear place to start. You got that? What do you do? Yeah. Where can young men find small-scale startup opportunities? That's the question that you want. Yeah. And I guess in addition to that, how do I start? Where do I start? You know, there's a lot of information. You know, there's a lot of information. Where do I start? This is the problem when you stop asking the questions as the host. Now the questions are directed to you. For the host panel. For the host panel. Yeah. Where does someone start? Do you want to tell them where to start?
There's a lot in that question, right? One is not knowing what to start. That's very hard, right? Because now no one can tell you what to start. Yeah. I was reading this book, Psychology of Man, right? Yeah. The writer speaks on we different, with different interests, right? There are things that everything that we can start can fail. We have to know that, right? It can fail. But there are things that we start and we enjoy. And if they fail, we'll be better off because we're doing something that we enjoy. Sure. Unlike doing something that you don't enjoy and it fails. Yeah. Right?
Then it's like, really I didn't like this anyway. This wasn't my thing to start with.
So I would advise that if you want to start, look at your interest. In your interest, how can you solve someone's need? Right, that's the first thing. What are you interested in, and what need do you see that you want to solve? Fine. Then from there, who's in the space? Right. Reach out.
Find one person.
Find one person in the space.
Make the bold text.
The bold request.
Yeah. The email.
Just send the email. Say, hey man, I've been thinking about this. Do you mind guiding me through the journey?
And you'd be amazed at how people want and are willing to mentor or to give pointers. Like, sorry to jump on your point, but there was one of the spaces I wanted to get into was the voice acting space. Right? So if you ever need a voice, right? And there's this guy on Instagram that I kept seeing, and he would post very short clips of him doing like radio stuff, voiceover work. And I'm like, man, this guy's good. It would be so nice to like get him to just give me some pointers, man. And I just shot him a text on Instagram. I said, look, man, I've seen the stuff that you're doing. I want to get into the space. Would you be keen to help? Would you be keen to give some pointers? I think a day or two later, he hit me up, and he's like, I'd be happy to do that, you know. And it's just like, wow, you know. So just ask, like just ask. But yeah, for sure.
That's the answer. I don't know if Mfundisi has
I'm
biblical answer.
Let me give him food to the phone. I'll see a scenario here and then he'll address it himself.
Okay.
So here we go. Find any scenario from those and address it from this one.
Okay, cool. Before maybe I find a scenario, I just wanted to talk about like being able to compartmentalize, like scaffold your plan. Don't just look at the vision and think you're just gonna get there overnight.
Right.
So your vision should be interpreted into goals, and from goals it goes to objectives, etc., until you get to that one next step. So where do I go from here? And I think earlier on when you guys were talking about this, you spoke about being able to localize your gratitude and being able to celebrate every milestone. So have some incentives for yourself as to how you celebrate whatever step that you've taken, and just keep going. I think another thing is consistency. I'll tell you this because with myself, I'm also into the journey of writing Bible commentaries, etc. So that takes up a lot of time and needs a lot of consistency. So if you just consistent with whatever you've planned and you are executing, I think that's also going to discipline you, and it's going to, I think, doing psychology, it's going to thicken that neurological part in your brain from the thought process to the execution, and everything is going to come easier when you do it. It's like gym. Okay, so
they are very interesting. One of them is
No, hey, I just kept scrolling. I was like,
Actually, I like the systems. So it says, I'm angry at the system, at God, at myself. I was promised the leadership, but it never happened. Now everything I see, every time I see someone succeeding, I just feel bitterness rising inside. So what do I do? What do I do with my anger that does not destroy me? Wow. Okay. I think that's very heavy. And
let's start with the system.
I think anger in general. Okay, the system. We grow into systems. We grow into, especially, in our context, post-apartheid, where most of us, are not as privileged, and we're finding ourselves, to have to deal with a lot of, things in our lives before we actually get to focus on our lives, and there's a whole lot of people out there who have never made it in life, there is someone out there who dropped out from school because, things just did not work out, there are many child-hated homes, and there are many kids who are products of single parenting and divorce. We've got all these socio-economic, sociological issues that have created a certain system and stigma and perception about life, and all these systems that we grow into have actually built a worldview of how we see things. So as a result, there might be someone like the scenario is saying, and it's realistic, who might be saying, I'm very angry. I'm very angry at God. Does God exist? Will I ever succeed? Will I ever, break the chain, the spell, consistently, I'm looking for jobs are not there. Does God really exist? How do you deal with that? It's quite a difficult one, like I said. But I would say for me, I also don't want to say accept the situation as it is, because you just can't. You just can't. Sure.
I would hazard a guess. Practice gratitude. To like at the very basic. Let's start with gratitude. What am I grateful for? Every day, even if it's one thing. Every day, wake up, you say, what am I grateful for? I think I don't want to come overbearing as an eternal optimist, which I am, but because I understand humans are, you know, a multiplicity of personalities, and some are more prone to, you could say, pessimism than others. Sure, I understand that. So I'd say let's do one thing that you're grateful for to get you out of this cycle of being angry at the system, because the anger is gonna definitely limit your progress, or if you do succeed, you are succeeding because you are angry. And it's not we've seen that, and it's not healthy now. You are successful, but you're still angry.
Still angry, right?
You see, because now, you know, people think you made it, you should be happy, and you're like, no, I'm mad. You guys didn't do anything for me. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you know. So we don't need those kinds of things in
Correct.
society. So
Correct.
I would say let's do practically
Yeah.
one thing to be grateful for per day. We move on from that, you find two. Move on from that, you find three. But we realize that it was part of my sermon last week. You know, I say if you are busy being grateful, God makes it his business to give you the things that you need. Wow. Because you're not asking for them. You're busy being grateful for things that are already there.
Okay.
Even if they are small.
Right.
You're not asking because you don't like. Yeah. Because it's just
There are things.
ask and you shall find, seek and but certain times, especially if you want to get out of this, don't ask. Practice not asking God for anything.
Sure.
Just thank you.
Right.
Every day.
And I just also want to say, no, thank you so much for that point. Anger, you know, spills into other aspects of your life. So it also, you know, creates this bubble of cloud that because I'm angry at this one thing, then I'm angry, you know, of everything that's happening around me. So I'll also say, okay, over and above the gratitude, many people, I believe, are angry because they don't have a vision for their lives. Having a vision does not mean you're successful or you know things are going to change immediately. No. But have a vision in your life. Where do you want to see yourself in your late 20s, in your early 30s? You know, and I like the point that you mentioned that you're never too late for your life.
Yeah.
Have a vision of your life as to what you want in your life. You know, just put the emotions, the anger aside. What do you want in your life? Where do you want to see yourself? Focus on that.
Yeah.
And also, secondly, I believe that you need to pinpoint your anger. You know, what's your anger? What specifically? What is that one thing that angers you? Because certainly, it can't be people.
Yeah.
It can't be, you know, broad.
Yeah.
There should be one specific thing, you know, that triggers that anger, and just try to find the root cause of that anger. Is it a situation in your family that caused you, you know, to be angry at life? You know, is it what your mom or dad or uncle did to you? You know, and just try to seek, you know, professional help. I don't know how. You know, if you also stuck in the Bible where you can't even, you know, go for like professional counseling, but just find someone to talk to. Voice it out. The more you voice it out, I believe, is the more you heal. But just pinpoint your anger, because anger can spill into all aspects of your life, even the positive ones that you can develop.
100%. I like the pinpointing of the anger, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's easier to say that you're angry at a system.
Yeah.
Or you're angry at a big picture, right? But if we were to then, like you're saying, if we were to ask you to pinpoint like where exactly has this made you angry, right? Where exactly has where is it solved?
Yeah.
You know, like pinpoint that aspect, and then that's now that you have found that aspect, you're able to now work on that, right? And in addition to working on it, I think also having, in addition to the gratitude, I think having people, like you're saying, people that you can talk to, but also people that can uplift you, right? And like the power of having human connection, like just to take you out of a bad place mentally is like, it's so understated, man. If you have a circle of people that are able to show you the good things, man. Like, I'm upset about this thing, but they're able to say, yeah, but also look at 1, 2, 3 here, you know. And people also that don't invalidate what you're feeling. People that don't just shut down, like, oh man, stop being angry, just get to, you know, just go find a job or whatever, you know. Because there are people who believe that that's the right way to respond. Like, oh man, someone says, look, I've been failed by 1, 2, 3. I put in the work, I did whatever, and this hasn't been the outcome. And someone says, stop being angry, just get to, you know, go send your application, go do whatever. And it's almost like my experience and the way that I've been mistreated amounts to 0, you know. And I think having people that can both validate what you're going through, but also pick you up and not just say, yeah, it's valid what you're going through and leave you there, but also pick you up out of that state and sort of propel you to a more positive outlook in life, I think goes a long way. So having positive friends, man, I think that really goes a long way, man. Because when you're by yourself, yeah, it's hard to get out of that space.
No, thanks, Themba. Thanks for this as well. I think let's give Carlos the last scenario and then we close the session. Because I think there's a scenario there that you will probably relate to. I don't know if you want to be naughty. You know, Karma sometimes, I don't know, but his temperature. Let's find something that interests him there and then we close. But thank you so much, guys, for coming. I think this has been healing for most of us. Just having the conversation.
Just get to air it out. Yeah. Like Pastor was saying, talk about it. And maybe, and I don't know if this is something that you've thought about or whatever, but it may be nice to have a physical man cave every once in a while.
We need it.
Just together and just talk, like unscripted, no cameras.
No cameras, definitely. You guys
Just have space to end things out. That'll go a long way.
We need more spaces like that.
And I mean, like, before he jumps in, also still on this point of, being angry at the system. One thing that I want to also, point out is that anger makes you to generalize things. To say, maybe for an example, because I was in a relationship that never worked out, therefore men are trash, or therefore women are this, and that's very dangerous, because you live your life with this one perspective, one limited perspective about life and people in general, and you'll never be happy. So just know that things are not as they appear to be in the broader spectrum because of whatever you specifically have experienced in your life. Like for an example, someone will be angry at South Africa
for no reason.
I just want to go. I just no intended plan. I just want to go to America because South Africa. No, there's a whole lot of opportunities that you have not even explored. You want to go overseas, but have you been to the Northern Cape? Have you been to other parts of the country? Have you looked for opportunities? I believe South Africa is abundant with opportunities and money. Yes, there might not be opportunities for the greater population, but hey, God did not create you to be a greater population, but He created you as an individual and has vested unique gifts and talents to you. So therefore, whenever you're looking for that job and you see 5,000 applications, listen, let that not discourage you, because God has a path for you and you are a unique individual. Now, tell me something. The people who are now in jobs, some of them are not even competing for their jobs, but they have a job. How many more people are looking for that one opportunity? Most certainly about 10,000 people, but they got the job, and it's not really they're making. Yes, of course, maybe they might have been suitable at that time for that job, but I believe 90% of everything, was because of God's directive and God's intervention into people getting into those spaces. So let not your anger, your disappointments, whatever you haven't achieved in life, have this Bible cloud around life in general to say, because I've not achieved 1, 2, 3, or because this relationship has not worked, therefore this certain type of people are like this. Don't create general perceptions, because things are not as they appear.
That's very true. That's very short. That's good. Cheers.
There's a lot of questions here.
Choose one, Chief. This whole time.
No, like I keep changing my mind. But there's one here that resonates to what my first year mentor always used to say to us. I've been applying for entry-level jobs, but every one of them want experience. How can I get any if no one gives me a chance? Right. So you want jobs? Jobs want experience. To get experience,
you need a job.
You need a job. It's a chicken and egg situation. It's a chicken and egg situation. It's a very in this economy that we find ourselves in. That's the reality of us. But something that my mentor always said, like it doesn't when you get there, they assign you a mentor. So this guy mentored me. He always said to me, there was a guy who was in the same situation. He would fail interviews a lot, right? And sometimes the biggest fear from a hire or hiring manager is you've never proven that you can do the job. You have never proven that you can learn to do the job. Right? There's that, right? So the guy was like, you know what? Just go to a place where you want to go and say, you know what? I want to come and work for you. Don't pay me. Volunteer yourself. And if you volunteer your services, then you can get the experience and you say, you know what, I volunteered my service, I have the experience. Right? I did 1, 2, 3. Volunteering your services, I mean, some things do, depending on which industry you're in, some don't need you to volunteer your service. You might just do your own things and just, for example, you might have a portfolio, right? To say, here's my portfolio, and that will give you, to say, at least you are not sitting down. Because the biggest problem is to remain idle. You don't want to find yourself idle, not doing anything. So, like if you can't find a place to volunteer, you can just do a portfolio of your work to say, okay, at least you can. It's funny how you can get experience online on most of the things, right? And now with the rise of AI and everything, it's very easy to get experience in a lot of things. So I just advise you to either build a portfolio or find a place where you can go and say, you know what, I'm just here to volunteer. And funny enough, I mean, most of the places might just say, okay, volunteer, we'll just give you stipend for transport and food, right? Just so that you come here and get your food. And
that's a start.
The next thing they might give you an entry-level job, or because you're putting in your CV that, hey, I was volunteering for this job. For this amount of time. When I see it as okay, this person they're willing to learn. They're willing to learn for free, right? Then it's a thing, they can just hire you and you know what, you do it.
I think that also says something about you as an individual. Like if you are willing to put in the work, even if there's no pay coming in, how much more when there's pay now? You know, I think it says something about you as well. And just to add on, like different places maybe where you can expand a portfolio. I think also volunteering at church, like joining different committees. You know, a lot of churches nowadays have a digital platform, digital whatever. You know, if you're in the creative space, they say, look, let me do the posters, or let me do, the bulletin, or maybe things like that. Like there's actually a lot of spaces, even within the church running, where you can gain some practical experience that you could put on your CV. I mean, there's nothing against that. So there's ways that you can actually, even within the church, I think keep your eyes open for different ways that you can actually gain experience, volunteering, being part of different committees, etc. I think that also helps.
And here's another thing, that's for free. You never pay to make connections.
Oh,
You never pay to make connections. So broaden your exposure to maximize your potential. There are people out there who are doing, like, I think we've been saying, the same thing. It never hurts, to be, connect with someone, be it on Instagram like you did, or on Facebook, wherever on socials, who's already doing whatever you're doing. You're not gonna pay any money. So just, stay connected with the people who are already doing whatever you want to do. And that could land you at the central. I mean, and another thing, look at Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, whether he denies it or not, is a product of South African education. Okay, you can criticize our education system and say whatever you want, but one thing we are proud of as South Africa is that our education system produced the richest man currently on earth.
No other country can say that.
Now, let me say something about the South African education that we shouldn't take lightly. Whereas in China, you are taught to specialize immediately. You are taught to specialize immediately. If you working, I don't know, with a certain type of software that produces A and B, you are trained in that aspect until you get to matric, and that becomes your specialist. But you're lacking in other life skills. Whereas in South Africa, they teach you to broaden your horizon. Don't be just a specialist on this one thing. Try out something. Maybe you're a good comedian, but you also good with digitals. You just focusing on digitals. But how much that they tell you, hey, Brian, your jokes are really fun.
Put it there.
Make money.
Put it on the page.
Yes, I'm going to entertain you for 50 rands each. We bring and share food. You entertain us. You created
someone shoots content on TikTok. You're gone.
Look at how many people on TikTok are killing it right now. They don't have degrees. They don't have anything.
I think I just want to reflect on something that my brother once told me. He said people are wanted, but the problem is they don't know when they're wanted.
Okay.
Right. So your skills are wanted somewhere. You just don't know when that somewhere.
Okay.
So it's very important to network. Right. Finding people in the industry who has been in the industry, and they will tell you where the gaps are, how you can harness your skills to best cover the gaps that is in the industry. Because honestly speaking, there's a gap between formal education and employment.
That's true.
Right. Moving from formal education to employment, it's not as smooth as we thought it was going to be. Right. So you need someone to tell you that no, if you wanna do this is the gap that you need to fill. Right. These are the gaps that you can fill in industry. Right. And also it's always important to solve a problem. See a need. Seeing a need and solving the need.
But if I could for 2 seconds, it's like, and it's with a heavy heart that I say this, but there's a lot of successful people in our church that don't want to share nothing. Like they don't. Man, you ask, man, how did you get there? Like, just share your story. Like, what did you have to do? Like, practically, like, yes, you studied.
As we bring them here. We're going to
Man,
find one
and
of
it's
you
like-
who bring you here.
It's like, hey, man, there's some gatekeeping happening. And it's like, there's someone that could benefit so much from your experience, from just listening to how you went about it. Maybe you didn't go the route of a degree. Maybe you said diploma, and then you went and got a job, or then you did a post-grad, whatever. Like, your actual process that someone could listen to and be like, oh, okay, so there's a different way to go about this and still end up, in that place. And like it's sad, man, because it's like there's some really wealthy people, there's some really really successful people within our church. Like, yes, there's successful people outside, but even within our church. And it's like, man, we want to learn also. Like, tell us. Tell us. Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like, man, those that are doing well, man, please share. You know, and sometimes the young person may be scared, intimidated to reach out, you know, to you as the successful person, but maybe be the one to reach out, you know, and just say, look, I've seen you do 1, 2, 3, you know, maybe let's have a conversation around that. That could go such a long way. Yeah.
That's good, man. That's good, man. Guys, we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you so much. This is the Advent Pod SA, a timely voice indeed. Please make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and leave a young review of how you think the set is looking today. You see, we're looking amazing on TV. All thanks to the technical team in the background. But Themba, thank you so much. Bro, thank you for having me. It's been a cake. What a cake. What a cake.